Welcome. My name is Ron Miller, and I teach religion at Lake Forest College, and I also co-founded an organization for interreligious dialogue called Common Ground. And interreligious dialogue has been my real passion for many years, and so I'm happy to be part of this panel, and the panelists will introduce themselves. I want to point out, first of all, that you notice the absence of a Jewish colleague today because we're doing this on a Saturday, and so some input from a rabbi will be added to this program later on. So we do regret that lack in our conversation at this point. So I'll turn to the Reverend Dominksi.
My name is Lolly Dominksi. I'm the pastor at Morton Grove Community Church, which is a Presbyterian Church USA congregation here in Morton Grove.
My name is Dennis O'Neill. I'm the pastor for the last 10 years now to St. Martha's Catholic Church in Morton Grove.
My name is Habeeb Quadri. I'm the principal at the MCC Full-Time School, the Muslim Community Center Full-Time School in Morton Grove, Illinois.
Thank you. Well, I just finished just shortly a 3-Saturday series here at St. Martha's in Morton Grove that was very exciting. It was about the three religions of Abraham: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And I had 3 themes that I sort of interwove each presentation: what we have in common, where we have differences, and how historically rifts have grown up between Jew and Christian, Jew and Muslim, and how we can move toward healing those rifts. All 3 of these religions, of course, come out of the Mideast. We can't date Abraham too accurately, but we're talking about perhaps 4,000 years ago. Because we all share the same calendar pretty much in our world today, we can date Jesus and talk about his public life, his ministry, as probably going from the years 27 to 30. We think that he probably was crucified in the year 30, and then shortly after his death, movements begin. We call it the Jesus movement that eventually emerges as Christianity. One might say Islam begins in 610 with the first revelation to Muhammad, but from the Muslim perspective, there's only one religion that God revealed to Adam and Eve and has revealed to countless prophets through history, culminating in the final revelation to Prophet Muhammad. And that religion is basically to recognize the oneness of God, to submit to God, which is the meaning of Islam, and to show that submission by striving for a world of justice and peace. Jihad is used as a verb more than as a noun. So from that viewpoint, Muslims don't think of Islam as really beginning in 610, but as beginning with Adam and Eve. And Muhammad is not the first of a certain kind of prophet, but the seal of the prophets. But at any rate, all of these religions come out of the Middle East. We call them religions of Abraham. They all have a relationship to Abraham. And so we're starting out with at least some things that are definitely in common. I'll turn to any of my colleagues who want to pick up here.
Talk about the Interfaith service.
Sure. I'd like to say I'm probably one of the newest to Morton Grove at this table. I came to the community church about 1.5 years ago, and one of the things that I was really amazed about is this wonderful tradition that Morton Grove has of the Interfaith Thanksgiving service. I think we celebrated, our 46th annual service this year, and I've been delighted to participate in it the last 2 years and have been amazed at the attendance. In fact, the attendance is such that my own church cannot host the event because the event is so large, which is wonderful and remarkable. I know that my congregants have enjoyed telling me about some of the things that have gone on in the past to help us strengthen our dialogue and fellowship with our interfaith neighbors. I know that we've had meals together with folks from the Muslim Center and have enjoyed dialogue. I know that Rabbi Cohen has come to our congregation and given a talk. We've even had a Buddhist monk in, and we were all thrilled when Father O'Neill was at one of our worship services this year to help lead worship and help with the baptism of one of the children. So one of the hallmarks of the Presbyterian faith is that we love to engage people. We love to talk to people about the nature of God, about beliefs and about worship practices, devotional practices, and also about what we believe about sacred writings. So we've been a firm supporter of all kinds of interfaith dialogue and fellowship, and will continue to do that. And I know that another thing that Presbyterians are always involved in is trying to engage people by helping them in any way we can, physically, socially, emotionally, spiritually. And I know, just like my other partners here, or colleagues at the table, our congregation enjoys volunteering at Parkview School, helping children with reading and math and other things, volunteering and doing reading at a local daycare center. We pick up bread left over at various restaurants in the area and take it to the Niles Township Food Pantry. We have an ongoing drive and collection for the food pantry. We sponsor a softball team. We love to be involved with the Morton Grove community as well as other places in the U.S. and globally, and I know that's true for you all too.
I was assigned to this parish and began as pastor just a month before 9/11. And when I came here, I was aware that this is the most complete United Nations melting pot community of all the many that I've been part of, and it's been my desire to be part of that kind of community. So I've been in heaven here. I was also made aware of the Thanksgiving service, though it hadn't happened yet for me. And I was aware of the congregations and the rabbi that were involved in that. When 9/11 happened, a few days later, I stopped over at the Muslim school. It's the closest school to us, just to see how they were doing. And I found out since then that a number of others in our parish actually stopped over to see how everyone was doing, and didn't know that up until then there really hadn't been too much dialogue. So we began to talk then, and the dialogue has continued over these years, so that for many years now, the Muslim Community Center has been part of the Thanksgiving service. And it's just all been an enrichment for all of us. And to have Dr. Miller here today to explain more about the three Abrahamic faiths is just another step in that ongoing opening up and getting to know each other better. So it's been an exciting 10 years for me because of all of this.
My name is Habeeb Quadri, and we had the opportunity 9 years ago when I first came into the community to have the opportunity to go ahead and find out about the Thanksgiving in-service. But one of the things that we wanted to focus on in our community was to give the opportunity for kids to interact. And in one way to really take away any feelings of animosity or the fear of what does some faiths teach about others. One of the things that we had focused is to make sure that we partnered up with Interfaith Youth Corps, an individual by the name of Ibu Patel. We were one of the first pilot programs 6 years ago, where you work with Loyola Academy and Chicagoland Jewish High School. We did a few interfaith programs, and it was talked about not just the shared values, but also kind of putting ourselves together to help the community. From that, we have now worked with several schools in the Chicagoland area, from BZADS in a Jewish school in Chicago to St. Helens School. What has helped us in this way is that now the kids have not just get to hear about the faith, but they get to interact with them and helping the community. So we've helped out by cleaning parks, to helping start a food drive, to even some programs like what the Morton Grove firefighters have a canned food drive to help and collect the foods for that. So what's happened is it's given this kids a better opportunity to really get a better feel of an understanding of what our faith talks about. It's not just service to our own individuals, but service to the community that you live in. St. Martha's, and I remember even Morton Grove Presbyterian Church at that time, Reverend Winters, have played a big service in helping us and getting our mosque and giving us support to have a place to pray. Even when we had, I heard after 9/11, where we had a few of our windows broken, the congregation at St. Martha's had paid for the windows. So I have only seen Father O'Neill give it a lot of opportunity. for that. So this has been a great opportunity at Morton Grove for our community to have a better understanding and have also feel comfort and secure about practicing our faith.
This is my first visit to Morton Grove, and from what we've heard here and seen, it's clear that this kind of activity has been going on for a while. And it's not a luxury today. I think some people think it's a luxury. I think it's a necessity. I mean, this is a global age. I've been teaching at the college for over 30 years, and it's interesting how things have changed. You can't study American economics. You can't study American politics. Pretty much every subject is global. And it's the same with religion. I don't think we can think of ourselves anymore within a particular religious community that has no contact with what other people are doing religiously in the world. It's a global village. It's a global world. And this is now necessary. And it looks like, here at Morton Grove, some of this has been going on for a long time. We started Common Ground in 1975. There weren't a lot of interfaith organizations then. Now there are just hundreds of them. It really is something that we need to do today. We really need to do it.
And I know that I really appreciate the fact that the Muslim Center offered a tour and discussion around the mosque recently, and I attended that as well as some of our congregants, and it just was wonderful to see your worship space and to understand a little bit about the various times for prayer in the day and issues you face and how you handle them, and it was just a real feeling of closeness. And then I was delighted when at the Interfaith Thanksgiving service, of course, I saw one of your congregants and we got to say hello and catch up. And it's just activities like that that foster community and understanding. And, we're thrilled that you all be hosting the Interfaith Thanksgiving service next year.
Yes. I don't know if we could kind of match St. Martha's here, but we're going to try our best.
You match us in food, I can tell you that.
Well, it's it's an age when these things are happening. They say young people today are post-geographical. I think that's an interesting term. We used to say, like I'd say, I'm from St. Louis. Kids today, not only have they often lived all over, but they are wherever their laptop is. I have a student from Costa Rica who has dinner with her family every Sunday by Skyping. And so thinking of themselves globally, they have to think of their religion that way. And, sometimes they come from an environment where they've only been exposed to one kind of religion. One freshman came to me and she said, I'm from a little town outside of Omaha. She said, I never met anybody who wasn't Christian. And she said, it's sure different at Lake Forest College. It's been said, I don't know if it's been proven, that Chicago is the most religiously diverse city on the planet Earth. And I teach a course called Chicago, a Rainbow of Religions, and we take field trips all over. And it's a great place for field trips because I've never found a religion in the textbook that I couldn't find in the map of greater Chicago. So this is a great place to be doing this kind of work. Where are plans from here? After this kind of a talk, I sometimes do a dialogue with an even number of, let's say, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, and we have one meeting at a church, synagogue, and mosque, and we have a fourth meeting, typically like at a food pantry. Because dialogue doesn't only happen in formal settings. I mean, sometimes people are just wrapping sandwiches, and that's, all of a sudden you're talking about your kids in school and just a lot of things you have in common. And so that's a 4-meeting program. So I think sometimes, we can structure some of these things. I don't recommend people going right into dialogue unless they know a little something about, the religions they're going to be dialoguing with. And you can either follow it with a book discussion or some kind of a trialogue of some sort. So how do you see things in Morton Grove? In other words, you've got the Thanksgiving service, you've got the open houses, you've got good relations. What's next? Because, a Thanksgiving service, you can only go so far. I mean, it's not really a place to develop the theology and so on.
The kind of interfaith dialogue you're talking about would be ideal, and we've already had a bit of that. for a number of years at the mosque, at Iftar, we've been invited to come over, and each year we would select a theme, say charity. How is that experienced in common in each of our faiths? And each of us would get up and share something. And the themes would change from year to year, but each time we got to know a little bit more about each other's faith. We also, for a few years, had dialogues where the synagogue, at the mosque, and at St. Martha's, we would pick a theme. And I remember the discussion here one night was the role of Mary in our scriptures. And it was a revelation for the Christians how revered Mary was in Islam. They just simply didn't know until we had that discussion. And as you said, I think both meeting each other, getting to know each other, and sharing information are vital. So we've had a taste of it, and there's a number of people here who would like more. So I'm sure when it starts, they'll be part of it.
And I think we need to pay attention to Ibu Patel, who you mentioned, I think is a really great leader of dialogue in Chicago. He always says, we have to do something with the children. A project I'd like to do sometime, and maybe you could do it in Morton Grove, is to find out in the religious schools, how are the kids taught about other religions, if at all? Often when I ask, they say, our curriculum is so full, we can't teach anything but Presbyterianism or Catholicism. But Patel always says, it's nice to have dialogue among those of us who are graying, but where do these fanatics come from? It's because they don't get rooted in this at an earlier age. And his point is, pay attention to the young people. So the dialogue stuff I do, most people in Common Ground are maybe 50 years old or more. What's happening with the kids, what's appropriate, and I guess basically, if we have textbooks even, what do they say about other religions?
I think your point is very strong and valid. Just even experiencing my own community, when I came here 9 years ago, many of our elders who, they worked hard, but they came from another country, they grew up in various countries, it was hard for them to kind of interact with others. I myself, born in Chicago, went through the Chicago public school systems, have friends who are Jewish, Catholic, Buddhist, and so you have this interaction where you have sport, you have different American cultural habits that you have, but you still keep your faith. And that's when I think one of the reasons when we decided to really do a lot of our interfaith programs, which our adults still did a lot of the programs with Morton Grove, but really to start with our young kids. And one of the things that I really wanted to kind of really pinpoint, I think that the next steps is to really help out with what's needed in Morton Grove. For example, I know they had a farmer's market, and it was really nice for the Morton Grove to say, hey, would you want a table there? How can we help out? They have the Morton Grove Foundation, which helps out other individuals, and to say, can you make baskets? I think when they just start seeing us in just general programs, which is helping the community, it brings that sense of community, but at the same time they'll see through interaction, our belief system, that wait a minute, you could still practice your faith and still be American, which is sometimes struggles that we go through in our community as different generation gaps. And at the same time, and I think that are some steps that at least I know from our community that when Father O'Neill tells us about programs and saying and that interaction are from the Presbyterian Church. These kind of give us things that kind of helps us. Even Rabbi Barkin had came and spoke to our kids about the Jewish faith, because there was so much going on in the Middle East. Yeah. So I had went to their school. Even Morton Grove, the public schools, in social studies classes, ask the questions. Better to ask than just keep it to yourself or Google it. So I think in these things are great opportunities that we could keep on moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard about some of these communities have a mitzvah day. I mean, it started with a synagogue in a suburb near me. Mitzvah is like a term, literally commandment, but also just to do something good. They'd go out and, visit folks in the nursing homes. And one of the churches in Moss said, can we get in on this too? And they've been doing that now for about 8 or 10 years. And they have this mitzvah day now where the Jews, Christians, and Muslims do it together. Why not? And now another community near me wants to begin this same kind of thing, and that's another. I think there are a lot of things that we could think of that could be done that aren't that hard to do, and they just bring people together.
Right. I know that all of our communities try to do things for the community, and I think it's a wonderful thing to try and get together and do that. Because as you said, as you're making sandwiches, wrapping sandwiches, interacting with one another, You see each other as people with the same kind of problems, questions, joys as anyone else. And it's a great way to pull together and realize that in many ways we're so much the same.
I was interested in your project of collecting bread and so on.
Right.
I've often, you just think about everything that's thrown away.
Exactly.
And, but that's that's within your church, isn't it?
Right, you're right.
Yeah.
That is within our church, but it'd be fun to do it together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, these things don't involve theology, which is the nice thing about it. All three religions are committed to working with the poor, and so the food kitchens and the clothes and all this kind of stuff is at home in all three. I wonder too. I mean, I think maybe it's important to know. This is a bit of a jump, but we come to interfaith dialogue from different places because I've been doing this for some 40 years. Jews have no reason intrinsically to talk about Christians and Muslims because their canon, their Bible, is complete before Christianity or Islam. Christianity is one of the only religions that's taken the sacred text of another religion and made it part of its own. So, the Christian Old Testament is the Hebrew Bible. So Christians have to talk about Jews. Jesus lived and died as a Jew. The story of Jesus is a Jewish story. So Christians have to talk about Jews. Christians haven't done it too well, but it is incumbent. Muslims have to talk about Jews and Christians because Prophet Muhammad encountered both. There are revelations in the Quran about both religions. So it's it's an interesting thing about dialogue. A Jew, like people will say, what do Jews believe about Jesus? There's no Jewish belief about Jesus. You don't have to believe anything about Jesus as a Jew. As a Muslim, you do. I mean, the Quran says he's the Messiah, and born of a virgin, raised the dead, healed the sick, but not divine. So, some of our religions have to talk about certain things, and others, there are things we don't. And that in itself, I think, can make an interesting dialogue. Text. How about text? James Carroll, who wrote Constantine's Sword, said in an article, all religions have sacred texts that we kind of wish we didn't have. I think it'd be very interesting to talk about the difficult texts.
I do too, and I hope we can do that next time that we get together.
Yeah.
We got a lot to do.
We do.
That's right.
And
We just started.
There's plenty of text for discussion too.
That's for sure. Thank you all. Thanks to this panel, and
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you who are watching this.
Hello, my name is Dr. Jerome Agrest. I'm an optometrist in private practice, was in Morton Grove. I am actually a member of Northwest Suburban Jewish Congregation for over 50 years and was a past president. I think my main purpose here is to give a little description of an interfaith service which was originated at Northwest Suburban Jewish Congregation. It really all started by the then president, Norm Greenberg, who came to Rabbi Charney and suggested that it would be kind of nice in the brotherhood of the community to have an interfaith service so that we can all get to know one another. Rabbi Charney met with the clergy of the community, which they had regular meetings, and came back with a very positive response. And that started the ball rolling. This was in 1964. And we started to propose a program for Thanksgiving of 1965. I myself was president of the men's club at that time, and we took on the task of promoting the interfaith service within the community of Morton Grove. Rabbi Charney had banded together the clergy, and we went out with the publicity. We met with the village board, met with the different lay people from the different congregations, met with the newspapers to get promotion for this particular event, and got everything going and was able to promote our Thanksgiving service, which at that time was held on Thanksgiving morning. The first service was held on November 25th, I believe, of 1965. At that time, we had 5 congregations who participated in the service. We had St. Luke's Christian Community Church, Northwest Suburban Jewish Congregation, St. Martha's Catholic Church, Morton Grove Community Church, Presbyterian, and St. Isaac Jogue, which was really in Niles, but was kind of very, very close to the Morton Grove area and wished to participate also. The service, idea of the service the clergy had put together was to rotate from a house of worship each year to different house of worship. And at that time, for us not only to get together to meet each other, but the clergy would explain the various religious objects of that particular congregation. It went very well. The first service was held at Northwest Suburban. It was over 700 people attended. It was one of the largest services I think that we held over the years. I was fortunate to attend every one of these 46 services over the years. The first service was held at Northwest Suburban with Rabbi Charney explaining the symbols of our particular sanctuary. We had the Reverend Ramsayer from the Morton Grove Community Church who did a reading of the scriptures, and Father Martin Poole of St. Martha's at the time gave the sermon, which was called Thanksgiving, Thanks Living. It was very well received. The women of the congregation had prepared some coffee, and following the 1-hour service, there was a social which took probably maybe 2 hours. People just mixed, mingled, and got together and did very well together. It was such a success that it was the start of a whole new era within Morton Grove. We were fortunate to have each of the congregations rotating and taking their turn in hosting this particular event. The events over the years have progressed to the point we had St. Isaac Jogue dropped out of our interfaith service a number of years after starting. Muslim community, I believe the first service that we had them participating in was in 2001 and been with us ever since. It's interfaith service within the Morton Grove area has been very, very well accepted, and certainly hope it's going to continue on over the years. The reasons for interfaith service, as I'm sure the panel has been discussing, is the fact that all of our friends and neighbors can get together, and though we all have our own religious beliefs, we're all people and friends and can maintain this type of sociability as we live together. I think the village has been very cooperative in seeing that this interfaith service was a yearly ritual, and we certainly hope that it's going to continue for many years to come.